Welcome back. Today I'm going to show you the best way to make a wooden steering wheel. Stick around. So I'm starting with an old Corvette steering wheel that I just stripped the old covering and foam off of and exposed the metal frame. I'm going to go ahead and make a vintage style looking wooden steering wheel out of this. I want to modify the spokes a little bit, put some holes in there to lighten it up and provide that more typical look that you'll see. So I just fixtured it in a vise and put on my drill press, and this is what I came up with. Then I made a mock-up. I took some old wood scraps and just by hand routed some grooves and just tested to get an idea of how big of a section I want to have. That's what I came up with. I found some wood that I had left over from my old living room floor, which I milled down. I made a template to cut a bunch of hexagons out of to glue together to make a blank, a couple of blanks. I just did an end glue rather, not real strong, but strong enough to hold together until I put the whole thing together. I did test it. Here's the hexagon blanks that I made. I really rough cut them, but then tried to piece them together. When you glue them up, here's a tip: just do 3 and 3, and clamp them like that. I use the cutoffs on a flat board for a clamp. And then once you've got the 3 together, try to stick them together. If your angles are off a little bit off the 60, as mine were, then when you put the 2 halves together, you'll see they don't quite line up, but they're much easier to adjust that way, and just 2 cuts across on a table saw or something, which is what I did. If you glue them one at a time and go around the circle, they won't line up. Trust me, I've tried that. And this is where the magic happens in the method. Is you glue up a center bar and you put a pin on it to rotate and mount that in your router table, appropriate distance away, which is basically just a grooving bit, and you're going to measure your diameter and make a groove within your blanks. It's got to be on each blank about half the distance, of course, of the width of the rim there. So I cut a little bit at a time. And carefully try to piece it all together. Then I'm rough cutting just on the bandsaw the outline of the circle I had traced for the outer dimension of the steering wheel. And then I'm going to likewise do the same on the inside dimension. I had to use a jigsaw for that. And as you see there, I'm not cutting all the way through. Leaving the center spoke in place. You're going to leave that in place for most of what you're doing for. I'm going to go ahead and start picking a straight cut bit, and I'm going to mount that on the router table, and then cut the rest of the outer diameter on the router table so it's nice and smooth and round. And then you'll see what I did is I just start a little bit at a time, poke the bit up, and then gradually increase the height until I can go round and round, and I've got a nice smooth cut all the way around. I did have a little bit of grain tear out there on one of these. There was some rottenness in the middle of the blank, and that wood I didn't see, but I was just able to glue and sawdust that in there. That really won't matter because this blank will be rounded off at the end of the day for when I do the finished milling. The second blank actually came out really smooth and nice, so I'm pretty happy with how that looked. Now I'm back to cutting on the inside diameter. Again, you see me going back and forth, same bit, same method, gradually raise it up, but you can't cut all the way through that spoke. You're only going to cut part way through that spoke there so that it holds together. What you end up doing is manually cutting that the rest of the way. And then you can just sand it and smooth it out. But that's really what's holding all of that together until you finish doing all of your pin-based routing. So All right, here now I've just taken some painter's tape, applied it to the inside surface, and I'm going to stick these together temporarily with a little bit of super glue. Just line them up, roughly, glue them together and smooth out the edges.
All
to
right,
make
well,
ready
here's
for
the
routing.
finished blanks so far. I've gone ahead and trimmed the tape and sanded along the edge a little bit just to get a smooth surface for the rollers to go for the rounding over bits. They should hold it together pretty securely. I've gone ahead and taped around a few places. I'm going to go ahead and just route right through that. That's just a little bit of extra security to hold it on there. Got a set of rounding over bits. So my blank is a little bit around 1 3/16 square. The largest one I have is a 1/2 inch. So when I go full round over, I'm going to have a little bit of a flat spot around, which is good. I kind of want that. I don't want it fully rounded. I'm going to go ahead though and start with a couple of the smaller radius bits and work my way up to that and do it a little bit at a time. So I don't want to put all the cutting on just the larger bit. So I'm going to maybe start with the 1/4 inch, I guess, and put that in the router table, get that all set up, and then I'll kind of show you how that's going. It's going to be very slow and gradual. I've got to do 4 times. I've got to go around on the outside, both sides, and the inside, both sides, and just gradually work my way up to it. And you can see eventually with the taller bit, for rounding this side, it's going to be running on the other wheel, on the other blank, which is why I had to stick them together and I couldn't just do them one at a time. All right, well, that should be the end of the routing. Went very well. Let me just show you the profile here. You can see there's a bit of a flat spot in the middle. Now you can see the inside. Maybe that way. Couple of little wobbles here and there. That's mostly due to when I stuck together the two halves, these two edges were not completely even. I didn't really want to stress the joints too much, just sticking them together. What I'm going to end up doing is taking this apart carefully now, and when I stick them together back on the steering wheel hub and glue it all together, then I'll get really careful alignment. Then I'll start sanding everything together so that these edges are aligned. These may not be clocked exactly how I wanted them. I want to wait until I had the routing done before I determined, like, sort of on the car what's the top, what's the bottom, in case I had any little defects or something. I did have an area here on the inner wheel that I had to fill earlier on with some tear out. That'll be in the bottom of the inside. I know this is going to be the outside. I also want to clock them so that the joints are staggered, ideally completely halfway staggered, but as much as possible to make it look right, because that really will give it strength, because these end grain joints are not super strong by themselves. So I'm only going to do a little bit of sanding as it sits right here, and then I've got to do some work on fitting on the inner wheel. The way that sits is where this spoke sticks up. I have to cut away a little bit of material. I'll show you here on the mock-up. You have to cut away a little bit of material on the inside so that this is going to fit like that, and clear that. Alright, so I figured out a way how to make this fit over here. I basically took my slot cutting router bit and I set it up to plunge into the side, and if I put this like that, how's the light? Fits pretty damn good right there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that back ring. That router bit is pretty well played out, so it's burning as much as it's cutting. Yeah, you saw me cut 2 slots. I had already cut the 3rd one, so just like that. I have to like that one I gotta cut a little wider, but the others are looking pretty good right there. Notches are all cut. Let me just show you that. That came out very clean. Very happy with that. Here's the other one. This is where I had a little bit of a tear out before. I put a little bit of wood filler in, but you're not going to even see that in the back. As far as the front side, what you end up with, because of that angle on the spoke, you end up with an opening here on all 3 spokes. I don't think you really even see that, but I might consider cutting a small piece of filler wood and putting it in there. But I'm going to glue all of this together and clamp it really good. Well, as you can see, I've taken it out of the clamps and I'm just doing a little bit of a quick sand for any glue residue around the edge, and here it is. Looks really, really good. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a little bit more sanding, but then I'm going to set it out on a sunny window and let the sun work on darkening the grain up before I put a final finish on it.
Well, here's the finished product in the car, still pending the final oil finish. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching.